The suspense outlasted the audience at the convention, but eventually, Doug Ford was declared the progressive conservative leader in Ontario Saturday night. It was news that went far beyond Ontario as the rest of Canada wonders if Donald Trump's brand of populism is spilling across the northern border. The colorful and controversial elder brother of former Toronto Mayor Rob Ford vows a stark anti-establishment contrast to incumbent Premier Kathleen Wynne in the looming campaign. The Liberals, well, say they're ready for it.
Doug Ford and I disagree on a lot of things. That's a reality. That's not news to anyone. What we are putting forward as a platform is very different than any of the Conservatives would have put forward. We're saying we need to invest in people. We're saying we need to make sure supports are in place. We believe that government has a role to play to do the things that people can't do by themselves and to allow them to care for one another. That's very different than what any of the Conservative leadership candidates were putting forward.
And Progressive Conservative leader Doug Ford joins us from Toronto. Mr. Ford, a lot of Canadians woke up Sunday to wonder how Ford Nation took over the Ontario PC party. How did that happen in your view?
Well, I wouldn't say it was Ford Nation that took over. It was a lot of grassroots people. There's a movement going on out there that I haven't seen in 30 years, Don. When I was crisscrossing the province, and people are coming up to me and saying, Doug, I've been a lifelong NDP member, lifelong Liberal member. I've been disengaged from your party for 20 years, but I'm coming back. I'm going to be voting for you. I'm going to be supporting you. We need help here in Ontario, and so we're there to help the people, and we're going to turn this province around.
Is this, in your view, a bit of a howl of protest against sort of political establishment? I mean, some people compare you to Donald Trump for being Donald as anti-establishment.
No.
Is that comparison fair at all?
Yeah. No, not at all. I know the people want to do that, but we've been in politics for 30 years before even Donald Trump existed. And but I'll tell you one thing. They want to talk about Donald Trump. Let's talk about this for a second. You look south of the border, Don, trillions of dollars are coming into the country. They had the highest corporate tax rate at 36% down to 21%. Manufacturing jobs are coming in by the droves, one of the lowest unemployment in 20 years. Then we look at Ontario. Ontario, 300,000 jobs have been lost. We have the most indebted region in the entire world at $311 billion, paying $12 billion a year in servicing that debt. We're being burdened by this carbon tax, by the highest hydro rates in North America. So these are the things that we're going to turn this province around. We will make this province the most prosperous region in North America to do business in. And I'm going down to the border to say Ontario is open for business.
Is it? Does that mean the Patrick Brown platform that was written down is basically getting ripped up and replaced with something brand new?
Well, we're going to reduce it a little bit. I've never been on a campaign that it's an 89-page People's Magazine version. I think there's five quick things that people care about. Making sure the health care is a priority, making sure we're reducing wait times in hospitals, making sure we review the education curriculum, bringing back good-paying jobs, getting rid of the carbon tax, and making sure that we reduce the hydro rates and always reducing the size and cost of government.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, certainly you want to find efficiencies in the current government spending plan of Ontario. Yes. Is that requiring a lot of layoffs, or how do you see that translating into a platform idea?
Yeah, well, Don, we saved over $1 billion for the taxpayers of Toronto, and not one single person was laid off. We're going to drive efficiencies through lean systems and best practices and technology. And what drives me crazy, Don, is when you have a supervisor in government and they report into 12 other supervisors, that's unacceptable. In the private sector, a supervisor will look after probably 15 people roughly. So when these supervisors all decide to retire through attrition, we just aren't going to replace them. And we're going to make sure that we bring it in line with the private sector.
Party unity is something you have to achieve in a hurry. Is that going to be a big challenge? I mean, Christine Elliott did resist recognizing your victory for quite a while there.
Well, it was less than 20 some odd hours she did that, and I understand it. Went into overtime. Christine's a great friend of our families, still is. We've sat down, we had a talk, had a great talk with Caroline as well, and Tanya. And our party's united. Our party's more united than it's ever been. I've had talks with candidates and caucus members. We're all excited. We're excited to turn this province around and start putting money back in the taxpayer's pocket instead of the government's pocket.
I'm curious, Patrick Brown is out of the caucus. Do you plan to invite him back in, and will you encourage him to, well, he's going to run again, I guess, under the PC banner. Do you think he'll have a place in the future government of Doug Ford?
Well, I haven't even had an opportunity to think about that right now, Don. I'm zeroed in on Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals, and that's my main focus. We're going to zero in, and I'll tell you, it's going to be an interesting race. I do have a great deal of respect for Kathleen Wynne as a campaigner, as a debater, but she's never debated Doug Ford before. So.
That is true. She has not. And some people, actually one of her advisors said you'd be the most dangerous opponent. But I do want to ask you, what is job one now? What does Doug Ford have to do in the next few weeks to get the campaign rolling?
Well, we're going to be heading on the road where I want to get a hold of these finances of the province. They're holding on to them pretty tight. We're running up another deficit, another burden on our shoulders. The taxpayers' shoulders and onto our grandchildren and our children. That's unacceptable. So we're going to take care of the finances of this province. We'll be crisscrossing the province like I have been for the last couple weeks and listening to the people. It's about the grassroots. People are going to have a voice that they've never had before. It's going to be an incredible election, and we're going to win this province and bring prosperity back to this province.
Final question. What would Rob Ford think of you today?
You know, Rob was the ultimate civil servant, I'll tell you. Even up to the last 2 weeks before he passed, and God bless him, that he was sitting in his hospital bed in palliative care on returning phone calls to constituents. Who does that? No one does that. But he's having a good laugh upstairs right now saying, go get him, Doug. And we'll go get him for you, Rob. I guarantee you.
All right, Doug Ford, appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.